Well, India is a very important. Prime Minister Modi convened his summit of the Global South right at the start of his G20 thing. That I think there are many voices of the Global South. India recognized that by actually championing putting the African Union as another voice in the G20 that India is part of. India is clearly one of the most important voices and champions of the Global South. We now see India's ability to be a global leader.
Now, every year at Anga and events like this, we hear about the Global South. It's a very generic thing that we all talk about, but then how much of it is really happening on ground? And especially in the G20 this year, you saw a lot of progress when the African Union was actually introduced in the G20. Your comments on that?
Yes, well, our focus, and we did work very closely with the government of India in a couple of areas where they were preparing for the G20, because it was a very wide-ranging and ambitious G20 agenda. And the final declaration does have commitments in areas like health and particularly digital public infrastructure. And digital public infrastructure, where India has been a true global leader, starting with the digital identity system Aadhaar, but now rolling out into broader financial inclusion, how the digital stack becomes a platform for greater interventions in health and education. There's a strong commitment in the G20 around that to help roll that out to the Global South. And we think that's a very concrete example of where you are able to have solidarity across the country, because those tools and interventions that India has pioneered are ones that are highly applicable in many other countries. So, for example, we also, on that digital identity, we are a partner with the government of India and others in an institution called MOSIP, which is based in India, but which now works with nearly 20 countries on how you put in place a similar digital identity platform. Countries like Morocco or the Philippines or Ethiopia have started to take that up. So we think that's one area. The health interventions I've just talked about are another. But we think there is a strong opportunity right now to use that Global South framework in specific areas. We're focused in areas like health and financial inclusion that focus on the poorest and most vulnerable. And we're certainly looking forward to working with the government of India to help roll those out in the years to come.
What's your impression and the Foundation's impression on India being a voice of the Global South?
Well, India is a very important. Prime Minister Modi convened his summit of the Global South right at the start of his G20 thing. That I think there are many voices of the Global South. India recognized that by actually championing putting the African Union as another voice in the G20. I think there are other convenings like the BRICS that India is part of. India is clearly one of the most important voices and champions of the Global South. And that's why it's a country that we, in addition to the strong partnerships we've developed over the 20 years we've worked in India to help drive better health and development outcomes in India, we now see India's ability to be a global leader in helping roll out and share some of its lessons and best practices in health, in digital financial inclusion, in agriculture. And that's something we're excited to be working on and building on in the years to come.